Welcome back to the Deep Dive. You know the drill. We take the source material you've sent, over articles, summaries, research, and boil it all down. Get you that concentrated knowledge fast. And today, we're tearing into a big one. It's Robert Kiyosaki's 1997 monster hit, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Definitely one of the most talked about, maybe even polarizing finance books out there. So our mission, a shortcut basically. We're going to pull out the core philosophy, those famous 6 lessons everyone mentions. But critically, we also need to look at the other side, the criticisms, the pushback it gets, because it gets a lot. If you know the name, you know the hype, but maybe haven't read it cover to cover, well, stick around. You're about to get fluent in Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah, it's hard to really overstate its impact. The sources we looked at confirm, it's easily one of the most influential personal finance books ever. And it's not your typical save diligently, invest in index funds kind of book. Not at all. It's framed more like part memoir, part parable. It's really designed to jolt you, to make you completely rethink how you see work, money, the whole system. It's a challenge, fundamentally, to how most people are raised to think about finance.
Okay, so let's start with that challenge. It kicks off immediately with the core narrative, right? The contrast between the two dads. This structure, it immediately makes you, the listener, think, okay, which one sounds more like my thinking or my parents' thinking? You've got the poor dad first. That's his actual father. Highly educated, PhD, secure government job, believed deeply in academics, job security, the traditional ladder.
Right. His advice was all about getting good grades to get a safe, high-paying job, trading your time, your skills for that steady paycheck. Education was the absolute path.
And then the flip side, the rich dad. This was his friend's father, a businessman and investor, definitely self-made. Didn't have the same level of formal education, I believe.
Correct. And he operated totally outside that standard employee mindset. His focus, financial independence, building systems, acquiring assets that generate income for him. His whole philosophy was, look, don't just work for a salary. That's a trap. You need to make money start working for you.
Which leads directly into lesson 1, doesn't it? The rich don't work for money.
Exactly. That phrase itself is a direct hit on the standard employment model. Poor dad's advice boiled down was, go to school, get good grades, find a secure job. But that, Kiyosaki argues, keeps you stuck in what he calls the rat race, just working harder and harder for paychecks, always needing more. Rich Dad's advice was the opposite. It was radical for the time. Learn how money actually works. Then you can make it work for you.
So the key takeaway isn't just earn more, it's change where the money comes from. Shift from selling your time to owning things that pay you.
Assets.
Okay, assets. That feels like the perfect transition to lesson 2. Because this, I think, is the concept that really cemented the book's fame. Redefining asset and liability. It sounds simple, but the way he frames it is pretty disruptive. It's the foundation for everything else.
It really is. Because most of us, we think of assets and liabilities in terms of market value or maybe status. Is my car an asset? Is my house an asset? Kiyosaki just cuts through all that. He simplifies it almost brutally down to one thing: cash flow. Where's the money moving?
Okay, break that down for the listener. What are his definitions?
Super simple. Assets put money into your pocket, period. Think dividend stocks, a business you own that cash flows, maybe rental income from a property, money coming in.
Right, and liabilities.
Liabilities take money out of your pocket consistently. So your mortgage payments, car loans, credit card debt, even subscriptions sometimes, money going out. The quote everyone remembers is just dead simple. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. That's it.
Okay, wait a minute, though. I have to push back a bit here because this is where it gets really controversial, right? The standard advice, or the bedrock of the American dream almost, is that your home, your primary residence, is your biggest asset. But Kiyosaki, with this definition, he's saying your house is a liability.
That's exactly what he's saying. And yeah, that's probably the single most argued about point in the whole book.
How does he justify that? Because on the surface, it sounds wrong to a lot of people.
He justifies it purely through that cash flow lens we just talked about.
Yeah.
Forget appreciation for a moment. Forget market value. Ask, month to month, where does the money flow? Your house requires a mortgage payment, principal and interest, property taxes, insurance, maintenance, repairs, maybe HOA fees. Every single month, money flows out because of that house.
A lot of money.
A lot of money. So from a strict cash flow perspective, during the time you're paying it off and living in it, it functions primarily as a liability. It drains cash. And this is Kiyosaki's big insight, or maybe his big accusation, The poor and middle class spend their lives buying liabilities, bigger houses, nicer cars, thinking they're assets.
Because they confuse the potential future resale value, or just the status, with actual income generation now.
Exactly. Whereas the rich, he argues, focus first on acquiring income-producing assets, real assets by his definition, things that put money in their pocket. Then they use the cash flow from those assets to pay for the luxuries, the liabilities, like the big house or the fancy car. The assets buy the liabilities, not the paycheck.
Okay, that clarifies the logic, even if it's a tough pill to swallow for homeowners. So you accept that definition, that cash flow focus. What's next? How do you apply it?
Right, then you get into the strategy part. Lesson 3 is mind your own business.
Which doesn't mean ignore your boss.
Right. No, not literally like that. It means focus on building up your asset column. Your business is your collection of assets. Keep your day job, sure, that pays the bills initially, but your real focus, your energy, should go into building your own investments, your own side ventures, whatever generates income outside your salary. That's your actual business.
Got it. So build the asset column separate from the job.
Yeah.
Which naturally brings up structure, right? How you organize things financially.
Mm.
Lesson 4, taxes and the power of corporations. This part can feel a bit dense.
It can, yeah. But the core idea is pretty straightforward, if maybe a little simplified in the book. Kiyosaki highlights a really key difference in how taxes work for an employee versus a business owner using a corporation.
How so?
Think about it like this. As a regular employee, what happens? You earn your paycheck.
And bam, taxes come right out.
Yeah.
FICA, federal, state.
Right. The government gets paid first. Then you take what's left, your net pay, and you try to cover all your expenses. Rent, food, car, everything. You spend from the leftovers.
Okay, standard stuff. How's it different for a corporation?
The structure, legally, is reversed. A corporation earns revenue. Then it spends money on legitimate business expenses, things it needs to operate and grow. Salaries, supplies, maybe travel, some education. And only after all those expenses are paid does the corporation pay taxes on the remaining profit. So earn, spend, then tax.
Okay. So the business gets to use its money, reinvest it, cover costs before the tax man takes a slice.
Precisely. Kiyosaki's point isn't about tax evasion, obviously. It's about financial literacy, understanding that these legal structures, like corporations, offer advantages if you know how to use them. It emphasizes learning about tax law, accounting, basic legal structures.
That makes the jump from employee to business owner seem not just like a career change, but a fundamental shift in tax strategy too. Which brings us to the mindset stuff. Lesson 5, the rich invent money. What does that even mean? It sounds a bit magical.
It does sound a bit abstract, yeah. But it's really about financial intelligence being more than just book smarts. Kiyosaki defines it as like a mix of knowledge, creativity, and courage. The knowledge is understanding the rules, like those tax laws we just mentioned. The creativity is seeing opportunities or solutions that others miss, maybe putting deals together in new ways. And the courage is actually acting on those ideas, taking calculated risks.
So it's not literally printing money, it's identifying or creating financial opportunities through smarts and nerve.
Exactly. He says our mind is our most powerful asset. Train it, use it creatively, and you can essentially invent value or find profit where others just see problems or nothing at all.
Okay, and that leads into the last main lesson, lesson 6. Work to learn, don't work for money. This sounds related to the rich dad's advice earlier.
It is. It's about prioritizing skill acquisition over just chasing the highest salary, especially early in your career. Rich Dad apparently encouraged Kiyosaki to take jobs specifically to learn critical skills. Things like sales, marketing, communication, understanding investments, negotiation. Skills that would help him build his own businesses and asset column later.
Even if the pay wasn't great at the time.
Right. The idea is you're working to gain the tools you need for long-term wealth, not just for the immediate paycheck. The skills are the real payment, in a way.
Makes sense. Learn sales, you can sell anything. Learn marketing, you can build demand. These are foundational business skills.
Exactly. They're transferable and they compound over time.
All right, so we've got the two dads, the asset liability definition, the strategy around your own business, taxes, inventing money, and working to learn. That's the core philosophy. But we need balance. Let's talk about the criticisms. Where does the book get pushback?
Okay, yeah, important to cover this. First, the strengths, quickly. Our sources consistently rate it very high, like 5 stars, for motivation and accessibility. It's simple, it's powerful, it genuinely shifts mindsets for people stuck in that paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. That's undeniable, but there are significant criticisms. One major one is the anecdotal nature. A lot of critics question whether Rich Dad was a real person, or maybe a composite, or even largely fictional.
And if he's not real or heavily embellished, that kind of undermines the true story memoir aspect, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Affects the credibility.
It definitely does. It makes it harder to verify the specific stories and lessons. It impacts that accuracy rating we see in the sources. It's often rated lower, maybe 3 stars, for depth and accuracy, partly because of this.
Okay, what else?
A huge one, especially for you if you're listening and feeling inspired. It's very light on specifics. It tells you what to do, buy assets, start businesses, but not really how.
Right. There's no step-by-step guide to analyzing a real estate deal or vetting a stock or structuring a business plan.
Exactly. It fires you up, gets you motivated, but then kind of leaves you hanging on the practical execution. And that lack of detail can be dangerous.
How so? Dangerous.
Well, think about it. You get someone really pumped up about quitting their job and buying rental properties, but they have zero experience, no detailed guidance on risk assessment, market analysis, financing. They could easily make huge, costly mistakes.
So the motivation could actually backfire without the practical how-to. Encouraging risk is fine, but without the tools, it's just encouraging recklessness.
That's the concern, yeah. It pushes entrepreneurship and investing, which involves risk, but doesn't adequately stress the caution and deep learning needed, especially for beginners.
And one more common criticism.
It sometimes comes across as undervaluing or even dismissing traditional education and the stability of a regular job.
Which seems ironic, given poor dad's background.
Well, yes. Critics argue that while the entrepreneurial path is great, for many people, a stable job provides the essential starting capital, the seed money. You need to even begin building that asset column Kiyosaki talks about. You can't dismiss its role entirely.
Okay, that's a fair critique. So pulling it all together, the good, the bad, the controversial, what are the absolute key takeaways? If someone listens to this, what 5 things should they really walk away with from the rich dad, poor dad philosophy? Okay, I'll start. 1. Financial freedom isn't magic. It starts with ongoing financial education. You have to learn how money works.
2, your main focus should shift. Less about the size of your paycheck, more about building and acquiring assets, things that generate passive income.
3, don't just rely on your job. Actively work on investing, learning new financial skills, maybe starting a side business. Diversify your income sources.
4, embrace calculated risk. Wealthy people aren't necessarily fearless, but they understand risk, they manage it, and they aren't paralyzed by fear of failure. Failure is often part of the learning process.
And 5, develop those practical, transferable skills. Sales, marketing, communication, understanding deals. Work to learn things that build wealth, not just things that earn a salary right now.
That sums up the core message pretty well, I think, the actionable essence of it.
So who is this book really for then, considering both the inspiration and the criticisms?
I'd say it's definitely aimed at beginners in personal finance, young professionals maybe feeling that rat race pressure, anyone really who feels stuck in the traditional earn and spend cycle and just wants a fundamentally different way to think about money. It's a powerful mindset shifter.
Right. A starting point, maybe not the whole roadmap.
Exactly. Which brings us to a final thought, maybe something provocative for you to consider. We see the book rated super high, 5 stars, for motivation, but lower, maybe 3 stars, for depth and accuracy, especially on the how-to. Kiyosaki champions this high-risk, high-reward mindset shift. Learn, take risks, build assets. So the question is, does that advice, that specific blend of motivation and risk, really work equally well for everyone? Or is the risk involved a cost that maybe only certain people, perhaps those with a safety net or specific skills already, should fully embrace?
Where's that balance for the individual between getting inspired and actually having a safe, practical plan?
That's the tension, isn't it? How much motivation do you need versus how much detailed, potentially boring planning? Where do you land on that spectrum?
Something to definitely chew on. Inspiration needs perspiration, needs a plan. Use this knowledge. Figure out that balance for yourself. Thanks for joining us in the deep dive. We'll catch you next time.